Hello, Just Jax here and welcome to my channel. Now, I was having a think this morning of what to get up to, what to do, what to have a go at, what to have a play with. And then it dawned on me, we are in the month of October, which means one thing: Halloween stuff. Halloween theme, scary things. Things that go bump in the night, things that don't go bump in the night because they're dead. And then I was also thinking, okay, that opens up a really big avenue of what we can get up to. It's like, do I do some drawing, start out that way? Do I create a monster? Which I will be creating a monster at some point. And then I looked up and saw this severed mermaid head. Now, my girls, my doggy girls, they eventually end up, through playing tug-of-war, ripping random limbs off their toys. And I have a few heads laying around, and I keep them for a while. Sometimes I sew the bottom up, put a patch in, and then they have like a little ball head to play with. This one, for whatever reason, I kept on the side, and I'm glad I did. It's the perfect start, a little severed mermaid head. So we're going to turn this into what it is, a dead head. We're going to have a bit of a play. I don't quite know where it's going. I've just got a rough idea of what I want. I want a tear up here somewhere with a bit of skull exposed. Maybe a little matter, we'll see. I picked up these the other month actually, because as we all know, Halloween, Christmas stuff, any seasonal things, they come into the shops months ahead of their time. But I'm glad I did. I got a couple of packs because you get one colour in each, and I wanted to have a pair of eyeballs that I could use to create lots of different things with, specifically with Halloween in mind, but also any other time you want to create a creature. So I got these out, so I thought, right, we're going to have an eyeball popping out. Perfect, because we've got to manipulate this face a little bit. We can't have her smiling. She's a severed head. So we're going to have a bit of a paint job on here. Handily, we can pull her hair back so we can get a nice scope on the face there. We're probably not going to do too much with the hair. We'll see when we get to that point. But what we're going to do here, we've got some random tools out. We're going to be doing a bit of painting, a bit of sticking, a bit of cutting. So yeah, I think what we'll do, because we want something smooth underneath for the skull, so we're going to cut this, open it up a little bit so it's got a bit of curve to it, and then slip it in up there and create a gash with the craft knife. And let the skin flap around a little bit. I don't know what we're going to do with the mouth. Very first thought was just to turn it circular. Just a little black hole. Unsure at the moment with the mouth. That doesn't seem like it's going to be enough by the time we finish with the rest. We're not going to want rosy cheeks anymore. So I was thinking we're going to have a worm coming out. Maybe going in that side and out that side. We've yet to decide what we're going to use to create that. What else? Oh yeah, we're going to leave this open, just ready it up. Well, I guess it could be any colour because it's a dead mermaid after all, but we're going to stick with red. Everyone knows what red means, especially in an open wound. I've also got, and I've been itching to use these for something. These are physalis shells, I guess now. They're really tasty little fruits that grow within a flower, and you peel them back, and then you're left with this really beautiful, looks like to me anyway, what it is, a dried out flower. It's like, well, they'll be perfect, even if she had some of those in her hair, because they're not alive, and they have a bit of an ocean vibe to them with the way they look, and they're very veiny as well. So I've got a load of those to play with. So I'm thinking we might incorporate them. So, oh yeah, and we're also going to paint her face. I think, well, I know it's got to be a washed out sort of grey blue. We're going to put silver in it to give it a little bit of shimmer, you know, that whole mermaid vibe. And we'll flip the hair back when the face is all done. We'll see how it goes. We might paint in some distress lines. Depends how what we end up doing with the mouth. We could always bring it down here. We could always open it and have something else popping out of there. We'll see. For now, I think what we should do is just paint the face before we do anything else, before we put any cracks in anything, before we slip a skull in there. We're going to make up a colour and paint all of this pink, because we don't want that. It's far too living. So let's move our eyes up there for a second. Let's get all my palettes renews for other projects at the moment. So we're going to get the old trusty plate out, make up a fair bit, because the fabric's going to absorb the paint quite a lot. So let's make ourselves a nice grey. We'll put that all the way up there because we're not going to need a whole heap of black. A nice grey blue. We go with the cerulean blue this time. Again, we're not going to want a whole heap of that. We'll stick that up that corner as well. And silver for that sort of shimmer effect. That should be plenty. Right, let's get making up. A little water on there, so we're going to want this a little bit more fluid. So let's add a little bit of black first. Too pale, because we're going to have a skull poking out, and there's got to be a little bit of blood left in the body, otherwise we can't have bloody bits coming out the bottom. Let's bring that down a tiny bit more black. We're getting there now. Bit more blue. We can afford to be a little bit more ferocious with the blue than that. Start bringing in a whack of the silver. Quite a whack of the silver. In fact, we're going to put that all in there because we can afford to. We'll make that a bit darker still. There we go. Sometimes you just got to go a little bit bold. Whack of the blue. Maybe a bit more blue. Yeah, there we go. We're not going to be too worried about it being mixed too well, because it will just add. Right, let's just start getting her skin coloured appropriately. We're not going to worry if we go over the eyes or anything like that, because they're just going to be guides for where we put things in. Take to the fabric a bit better. Not to get it on the hair, where the hair's going to be seen anyway. It's going to be a suitable dead/dying skin colour. Right in there. We're not going to worry too much about the very edge because it's going to be redded up. So, don't worry about getting too finicky down the bottom there. A tiny bit more. Right, let's very carefully get right along this edge here. So it doesn't matter under the hairline, just where you're going to see skin meet hair. We don't want any of this bleeding into there. Same for this side. Right. I think we're not going to be using that particular shade of skin anymore, so we may as well just use up whatever's on the palette, the plate palette, and make sure that we don't leave any pink anywhere. Right, I think for a start, that is a good start. We're going to let that dry, clean up, and then come back when that's dry, because we can't do anything else right now. Nearly missed a bit up there. There is a slight, very slight shimmer to it. I don't know if the camera will pick that up or not. But if you're doing this or doing anything like this at home and you happen to have any severed heads laying around, you will see it yourself. Just the tiniest little shimmer. So we're going to let that dry. Clean up a touch. Then when we come back, that's when we're going to start to mess her face up a bit. Or we might finish... I think if we do any of the paintwork, we're going to need to start to mess up her face a little bit anyway, because it's going to be... But we can use our imagination. I guess we'll see when we come back. We'll let it dry. I'm going to have a little rummage around to see what I can find that could be a worm. That could be going in that side and coming out that side, or even like a little sea snake or something. Yes, I will have a rummage. We'll also decide what colour eyeball. I'm swaying towards the purple at the moment because it's one of the ones that's a bit more washed out in the white regions. So she hasn't got a really white eye. Plus purple would be good for a mermaid's eye, I think. But we'll have a look in a moment. We're just going to leave that for a second and let it dry. So we're back in a moment. Okay, we're back. Face is dry enough to work on. Still a couple of bits. Sort the necklace out so it doesn't go clink clank. Still a couple of damp patches, but that's not going to affect what we're going to do next. So I found this that I forgot I had, silk clay. It's a lightweight foam version of air drying clay. So we are going to, may as well do this now, let's pop her over there for a second, make some maggots and worms. Because I had to think as well about what bad colours start out, might put a tiny bit of black in it, murk it up just a touch. Think about how we were going to work the mouth. So obviously we're going to have like worms coming out of the cheeks. I was looking at her face and thinking, what can we do with that mouth? It's like, well, I originally was going to just have a black hole, like a little gawp, a little death gawp. Then I thought, well, I can just cut into it, split it down the sides, and have more creepy crawlies crawling out of it. Just lots of little maggots spilling out. So we're going to, hopefully this stuff's still good. I haven't touched it for ages. It looks like it might be struggling with itself. Plus when I peeked in it yesterday I put the lid back on, but I didn't make sure it was popped all the way around, so I'm hoping that hasn't sent it on a dry out phase already, which it might have done given its bobbly sort of texture now. But let's see. I do have some more that I didn't trifle with in that manner, so this can still be a possibility. So yeah, we're going to make a couple of worms first, and then a load of diddy maggots, and towards the end we'll have that all spilling out of her mouth, bursting out of her cheeks. Oh, this is getting a little murky now. I wanted to dirty it up a little bit. Right. Plus we can always paint it again after if we don't like the colour that it dries. Or at the very least put a little detail on. So, make a couple of worms. They don't have to be the full worm, so we're only going to have part of it bursting out of her cheek, well, creeping out of her cheek. We could make it one long one, so it's worming in one way and out the other. So if we're going to have that go in there. I think what we'll do is let's get a paintbrush that we're not going to use today. And that's going to help us. Really chunky one, yeah, this one. Get some of this going on. Hopefully we leave that over there to dry, sandwich it between another one, stop it from opening up on itself. Okay. I'm going to leave that up there, probably overnight. And let's just make a load of little maggots. They're going to need to be about half the size of that. We're going to have a little taper up either end like a maggot does. Molly. Good girl. Sorry, my little Marley was about to have a rummage through my other half's bag. There's nothing in there worth rummaging for, but she's always curious. We're going to let these curl up on themselves a little bit. Quite a few of these. They're all going to be slightly different sizes. You don't get uniform maggots after all. Try and get a couple to curl up on themselves as well. Like, if we can. Short and squat, so they're going to be a bit tricky to fold over without my nails poking in somewhere. Try and make sure none of them are wholly straight. They've got a little bit of movement in them. Big maggots, these squat maggots. Maggots. We want to try and taper the edge just a tiny bit so they don't just look like little sausages. So you want them to look a little bit like mini torpedo subs. It's better to have too many than not enough. And I don't think I'm going to be using this for anything else. That was going to be far too fat. So we may as well make as many as we can. because we could always have a couple spilling out and like working their way down. A couple of didders. We'll also put all of these up the top there. Along with a worm to dry. And then while they're drying, we'll have a look at what we're going to do to the face next. We're going to do a little bit more painting to it. We're going to add a little tone here or there. So we're going to want to darken around the eyes a little bit, maybe put some wrinkles in and some creases and all that jazz. This is a fun thing about doing something that might be considered gross. You can have so much fun. It's like years ago I learned, it was an old British sitcom called Bottom, with a legend that is forevermore Rick Mail, and they did a film at one point called Guest House Paradiso, and there's quite a few gross things in there. Bottom, you know, it is what it is. It's sort of tongue-in-cheek humour with a gross aspect, I guess, especially in this respect. And well, I don't want to spoil the film for anyone who hasn't seen it, but there is a lot of vomit involved, a lot of sickums, and they had a team employed, a special effects team employed solely to make different kinds of vomit. That would have been an amazing job to have. I'd have loved that, creating samples of artificial vomit for Rick Mail and Aid Edmondson to choose from. What a dream job to have. Weird dream job to have, but still, what a dream job to have. I'd love to be able to go into special effects like that, just creating things, especially gross things. Like I say, I do have a bit of a odd interest in that. I like pretty things too, but I am definitely more drawn to odd, gross, slightly obscene. So we have a little pile of maggots. We're going to stick them up there to dry. I don't want them to touch each other in case they stick to each other. We'll decide who's going to stick to who when we position them. Let's put all our little maggots up there to dry out. In fact, I might put them over there. Let's have a look, because I've got a painting project on the go as well, and it's definitely going to invade that space. I don't mind if the maggots rock up in my other videos, but they'll be in the way up there. They'll get squished by the canvas, then we'll get a load of smushed maggots. Let's pop them all over there. The worm will be okay for now. I'll reposition that later. That's quite tucked up out of the way. Right, pop all those maggots up there. Right, now to do a little detail on the face. So we have clean palette. We also have our plate palette, because we're still going to be using the black and the blue that's on there, so I figured we may as well keep that for today. Get rid of that. Have a drink. I'm on Pepsi Max at the moment. I'm definitely a Coke girl, but I've had a bit of a hankering for Pepsi Max. So I'm going that way today. Now, we do normally have a cup of tea. That'll come later. Right, let's ignore all that for a moment. Let's get little detail brush. I guess we could use you for mixing. So we want essentially what we had yesterday, but darker. So let's drag the blue down, get a splodge of white in there. For a second. Drag some black in there. Oh yes, and silver, we can't forget the silver. So we still want shimmer to what we're doing. A bit blow of that in there. From what I remember, we can be quite generous with that black. And again, we don't mind if this is wholly well mixed or not, because the more tones the better. Maybe a bit darker. Let's have a look. So, let's actually rest you there for the moment if we can. We want a sort of bit of dry brush effect. My necklace is so desperately trying to hit the microphone, but we're trying our best to avoid that. Right, so we're going to want a dark around the eyes. Judging by that, we can go a whole lot darker. Let's just get really generous with that black. Let's try that. Yeah, you can. Okay, that's all right then. So let's sink those sockets in a bit. Now, she doesn't have a nose, but we're going to keep it that way, because I thought about it yesterday. I was like, oh, what should we do nose-wise? And then I thought, well, why would a mermaid have a nose? I mean, I guess there's no reason why not, but I like the idea of this mermaid not having a nose. Let's bring a bit more black in there. A bit more still. Really sink those sockets in. The same for around the mouth. I want to stress that mouth out a little bit. Get a little sunken in where the cheekbones would be. To take a bit more of a grim appearance, which is what we want. I'm going to sink it in up around the temples a bit. Getting a bit more of a skull-like vibe to her. A little sunk in around here. A little distressed around the area, because we're going to have a massive gash in there. Really dark. Might even add a tiny bit more black. Might swap to a smaller brush than this to add a bit more definition where we want it. this, as long as it's a ripe one, not quite. I'll leave you up there, I've got a ripe one somewhere. I know I'm getting distracted, but this is worth seeing. These are the beautiful physalis. For those of you who've never seen them or had them before, they are so sweet and tasty, and they're just beautiful and fun to open. How cool is that? So cool. Oh, and so tasty. That one was particularly sweet and succulent. Now, I'll eventually take that piece out altogether. But how nice and beautiful is that? Anyway. Right, let's get a smaller brush. Maybe like you. My old school dry brush. That's like been dry brushed into oblivion. Let's see. Oh yes. We can even afford to go a little dark. Well sunk in. Let's do one more around here, around the mouth. Always bring some of the light stuff on top. Sure will do. As clean as we can. This thing with a well-used dry brush takes quite a bit of washing to get everything back out of it. Save you there. It was you, I believe. Yeah. Just dry you out as much as possible. And we'll just bring back in a little. We'll bring a bit of that up there first of all. Bring it back just a touch. Just a touch. Definitely a little more stressed around the edge here. Right, I think that is looking pretty good. Let's clean up everything for now because we're not doing anything else just yet. I tell a lie, we might put some wrinkles in, or do we let that dry and then put some wrinkles in? this down here. Let's see, just see how it looks. Doesn't really a whole lot to it, obvious. So we'll bring that down so it makes it look like the cheeks have sunk down quite a bit. Let's bring it dark like that. Just keep what we've got at the moment. Might add some after. So we're going to leave that to dry. So once again, there's nothing else we can do to that until it's dry. And then when it is dry, make sure everything down there is clean. When it is dry, we're going to look at cutting her open, putting her eyeball in, and I'm pretty set on the purple one. I think we're going to go for that. Bulging eye. So we'll pop that aside with the maggot, so we know that eyeball is spoken for. So we're going to leave that here for the moment. We'll need this cling film again after all. Stick that there. Just in case we're not done with this, pop that over there as well. Right, may as well put all these bits over there as well for now. We'll need those in a little bit after this is dried. So what we'll do when we come back is, and this will probably, because it took about a little under 24 hours to get damn near dry, but not completely dry. So this is probably going to be probably tomorrow again. We have to look at this. But when we do come back to it, we are going to, like I say, cut her up, get the brain or the skull piece slotted in. That's going to be what the toilet road tube comes in for. Get the eye put in, and probably get the maggots put in as well. And then we'll bloody up the inside, the stuffing. We might even like spill a little of it out, or we could even use some of those maggots falling out the bottom there. We'll get some of these physalis shells to pop in her hair. And we'll probably as well mucky up the hair a bit, because why would her face be in such a state but her hair be luscious brown still? It's got to at least have some muck and whatnot kicking around it, even if we just dirty it up. So yeah, we are going to leave that there for now and come back probably, for me anyway, tomorrow to work on the next step. For you, it'll be but a moment. So, see you in a second. Okay, and we are back with Head of a Mermaid. It didn't take as long to dry as I thought, which is well handy. Always touch wet around there. But that's okay. We have got, let's just see where the hairline goes. We've got a crack in the skull to do around here, or a tear. So we are going to do that now with this for about there. I want to do this controlled, I don't want to be too vigorous. We also need that to be stressed back a bit. Give it a bit of peeling flesh somehow. Stay in the middle. See how that looks. That can work. Do we do all the cuts now? Yeah. So we know we're coming in the mouth region. Going right through that embroidered mouth. Gashing it down a bit. That's where we're going to have the maggots oozing out. Now the eye. So I want to press it in a bit. Let's see what happens if we go maybe around here. For straight across. See how that looks if we've got the eye pushing out. Let's see. Could work. We have it bulging a bit more. Yeah, maybe something more like that. Rolling up. We're going to need to glue that in place. So we'll come back to that. Let's move this for a second. And let's cut this open. And get skull. I wonder how it would work if we tried to cut this in a skull-like shape. going to slip that up and in under there. Do we want it? To be under the whole thing, or do we want it just where we had original intentions? Let's have a look. See how it affects her face if I put the whole thing in there. Got to go in front of the stuffing. Let's try that. We need it to tuck in and over there a bit. Just try rolling it that way. See if we can get it where we need it. All the way up and over. It would be better with just patching. So if we take like that size. So luckily I've got plenty of toilet roll tubes to have a play around with. So let's try slotting that right up there. Make sure there's no stuffing creeping. That painted white would really work. It's not in the way of anything else we're going to put in. So let's paint that white. Peel this back. I'm just going to work with a corner so we don't need to pull back the whole thing. So let's white that up. That'll be another letting it dry moment, but this is just going to be white, maybe a couple of layers so it's as skull white as possible. Do a couple of coats. This will be a point of me letting it dry again, but it shouldn't take too long because this is dried really thin. You just want it to be really, really white. So let's let that dry. Cover that up because we're definitely going to be using that white again. Oh, I never got any water. I'll get that in a second. So I've got to let this dry anyway before we go any further. So I'll let that dry, give it another coat. That'll be like 5 seconds by itself. But we might go with gluing the eye in. Oh yeah, we've got to make some gashes there and there for the worm to be coming out. So let's very carefully not slice my finger underneath. Cut through that. And that. And again, being very careful not to gash my finger underneath. I've done that before. Not smart. Hopefully that will work. It's going to be going in one side but forcing its way out of the other. worm isn't quite solid enough for me to be ramming it around holes. So we'll leave that for now. We know that we've poked a hole in there and there. And that'll be tight enough for the worm to wiggle its way around. Is it? It's probably firm enough for us to have a little play. Let's try threading him through. I don't think he's ready yet. He's not ready enough. We'll leave him till tomorrow because he's starting to firm up, but he's still got a bit of give in him. And those holes might be a tad bit too snug. Try sticking a bigger brush in the hole. Got a fairly fat bottom. Not that fat, maybe that. Side. That's a bit better. Can we get him? Where did I put him? Right there. I'm gonna have him like that. We need head in that way. Pull it through. Head forced out that way, and send that hole the other way. That can work. We'll just have to paint it up a little bit. Not really paint it up, but pen in a few lines. And that can work. Let's put it together a little bit. Eyeball in there. Up a bit. And then we'll have maggots spewing out of the mouth. I have to pick the smaller ones. Probably glue a couple on as they're wiggling their way away. They might need to be even smaller than that because looking at them they're not half the size of the worm. I don't think I can make these any smaller now, they've started to dry out. Just a little bit. It doesn't matter how long it is around the back, it's how it looks around the front. Right, let's pull this out for now. Get that eyeball out for now. I'm going to let everything dry. Firm up. Paint dry. And look at gluing it all in place. And then it'll be readying it up. I think that. Probably dry enough to get away with popping another coat on. Just dry enough. just dry enough to get another coat on. We'll go for another one after that because we want it to be really white. Obviously we're going to bloody it up a touch, but we'll do that when everything's glued in place. The blood is going to be one of the last things that we add, along with a bit of muck to the hair. Yeah, she's taking a tragic form. So nothing else we can do right now. I've got to get that brush clean before the paint dries on it, and I have a ruined brush. I don't think we need this for anything else, so I will pop that away. We will need that. We won't need that. That can all go in the bin for recycling. I don't think we need these, so they can go back over there. Right. I'm going to pause again this end, let that all dry. She's fine, she can just chill there. Let that dry, give it another coat. We're sort of in that phase where it's almost to the point of sticking everything together, but I think that needs to go in before anything else, otherwise I'm just going to catch it all on the inside. So yes, we might come back as soon as that's dry for a brief, like not even a minute clip, just to give that another coat, or two if we can get away with it. So here I go to pause again. That's alright, my girls need to go for a W. I can't say the word, they're very clever and they know exactly what it means, and they'll start running around and woofing and grumbling at me to get me going. So I'll say it as soon as I've got my bottom off the stool, so they know it's time. I think it is. What is the time? Yeah, I take that. It's a good time for them. And finish my tea before it goes cold. That's another reason not to say it, so I can finish my tea very quickly. So, back again in a moment.